So, ladies and gentlemen, today as side proposition here, we believe that startups are great. They should exist. But we don't believe it, and what we regret is the glamorization that takes place, that every other career path that exists will never bring you the same satisfaction, is not as great, is not as good as this startup that you will go for. And this is creating a false utopian world around these startups that we regret in, and we do not believe that this should be done, and a more practical approach should be taken with the guide. So today as side proposition, we bring you two ideas, right? First, the precedent that it sets within society. In this, we have two tiers: the false hope and the false image of traditional paths that has been done. And the second idea: who does this glamorization really benefit? So, ladies and gentlemen, moving quickly on to my first line of argument: the precedent that it sets within society. My first tip for you is the false hope that is being created by this particular brand of glamorization. This glamorization, the glamorization that we talk about is how there's constant entrepreneurial championships taking place by Lyceum, by Lance, and how they are encouraging individuals that you should start your own business, you should do it, it's great, and it's gonna give you high levels of benefits. We have TED Talks taking place where half of the speakers coming out are stating that you should do it, startups are great, startups should be done. But what we think is this is bad, because this only shows a small percentage of people who are succeeding and gives false hope to individuals. Yes, we can do the same thing and end up being just as successful as them. But the thing here is, ladies and gentlemen, that only those who succeed do come out in the open and are cast into the limelight and shown and glamorized, right? The other people, the vast majority who end up failing, are not even talked about. People do not know that this is a narrative that exists, that people do end up failing, that people that people can actually fail while they take this particular step. And because, ladies and gentlemen, no one knows about these certain individuals, it indicates a certain sense of false hope within every single citizen. Students can go out there and believe that they can all start up new businesses, they can all become CEOs, they can all become millionaires. They've been told that this is so great, that this is so amazing, that all they can think about is starting these particular startups, and they completely ignore the other opportunities that they might have. Examples of Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates are thrown around, that these people were college dropouts, that they ended up going up to become millionaires, and billionaires and being the most successful people out there. And these people believe that since these people went out there and were successful, we can be just as successful as them if we drop out of college. This leads to a dropout culture being created in society. Individuals are not aware of the circumstances that they will be put into if they take these certain steps. They are not aware due to this particular brand of glamorization that this house today regrets, ladies and gentlemen. And because, ladies and gentlemen, they believe that they can easily succeed, they are motivated to drop out, and what they fail to realize is that everyone does not have the same level of resources that those particular individuals did. And because they had those particular brand of resources, they were able to succeed. They were a very small minority at that too, ladies and gentlemen. And while on the other hand, those vast majority that didn't have the same level of resources to succeed did end up failing, and they were not even talked about. So they do not know that this other side even exists. No time to sit down. So what they end up doing is that they go out there, they fail, and they go out there and fail. This encourages the startup culture. They do all well and good for maybe a couple of months or weeks, but there's a high chance of them shutting down. There's a high chance of them failing, because the real world isn't as glamorized as it is being put into words later, as it is being painted. The picture that's being painted is not as glamorous. It's an idealistic utopian world that these individuals are being sent out to, and they do not know the practical problems, the real ground problems that are involved with taking such steps. So moving on to my second tier, ladies and gentlemen, is about as to how this false image of traditional career paths is being created due to this brand of glamorization. So this glamorization leads to simultaneous de-glamorization of traditional career paths. And here we have the usual boring life in a cubicle story, where people are told that if you work in a cubicle, if you are a traditional career-oriented person, that you are not as successful, you are not as valued, you are not as accomplished as these particular people who are engaged in startups, right? And that is something we regret. But before I move on,
so startup culture promotes people to actually want to be and want to follow a traditional career path. The idea is that as long as you want to, you're facing. As long as you want to, you are happy. As long as you're happy, this is what startup culture promotes.
but the thing here is that they've been made to feel as if the startup culture is so great. They've not been given the proper solution, the proper idea of what they're about to face out there in the open. They think they will be happy and they think they will succeed, but what does happen is not this what you believe to be. You live in an idealistic world where this does not happen. So moving on, people are being made to feel. People who follow these traditional career paths are being made to feel as if they're useless, as if their life doesn't have the same value as these particular individuals. And this is done by showing that people can only be innovative, creative, and accomplished if they break the barriers and defy the norm and go out there and have their own startup, right? And this is something we are not for. By doing so, they create an other norm within society which is more harmful. This norm that is being created, that you aren't good enough until you do something out of the box, until you do this particular brand of startup, until you engage within this particular brand of startup. And this, even furthermore, believe what this leads to is a lack of innovation within traditional career paths themselves. When individuals tend to go towards these startups and engage themselves in startups, they think that these traditional career paths are not good enough for them. They do not engage in following these traditional paths. They tend not to be involved within traditional career paths. Individuals are demotivated and de-incentivized to follow these traditional career paths. And this leads to further lack of innovation, because individuals who could have possibly been a part of this traditional path are not there. They are out there engaged in trying to start startups, and most of them are failing. So furthermore, people are, and those individuals who are already pursuing these traditional career paths are made to feel demotivated. This was a form of self-actualization for them. They thought that this was a career they wanted to follow. This is a career which is valid in society. But no, this glamorization, what it inherently does is show that no, your career path isn't as valuable as the other one, and that you should not be following this path, that you should be going out there, breaking the norm, starting your own business, because that's the thing to do. That's the thing that will make you even more accomplished, even more successful. And because this glamorization doesn't make, and because, ladies and gentlemen, it proves to you how this glamorization is creating a very bad narrative within society, we should win this debate. Thank you very much.
Has every traditional employee in the world suddenly dropped out of their employment? And has every college student suddenly dropped out of college to try to pursue their own startup company? No, we think they haven't. We tell you inside opposition that when your livelihood, your future, your ability to maintain your standard of living is premised upon that startup succeeding, you are likely to be as pragmatic about it, as practical and realistic about it, as you would pursuing any other career path, ladies and gentlemen. Because all those TED Talks that glamorize startup culture also tell you the struggles these people went through, the days they spent eating cold food, ladies and gentlemen, and how long they had to spend doing their work. We tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the glamorization of startup culture is more than just saying, look, startup money, you should do it. We tell you it's a destination, but it also shows you the way and the path of the destination. It tells you how to get there. It sends you messages and tells you lessons of perseverance, of innovation, and of maximizing human talent to reach where you want to be. It's more complex and deeper than they make it out to be, ladies and gentlemen. And you need a sophisticated understanding of it to deal with it. So we think that this glamorization of startup culture has generally done no harm. With this entire false hope idea, we give you the entire rationality response. But in addition to that, we tell you that people aren't randomly dropping out of college, right? Because we tell you that people build their hopes and their dreams of what their startups are on the basis of the skills they have and the abilities they have, largely speaking. In addition to that, universities and colleges offer cheaper entrepreneurship degrees as well, attracting people to these colleges for the purpose of pursuing a startup dream. In addition to that, ladies and gentlemen, we tell you that people who pursue startups and leave their employment to pursue these startups will not suddenly forget the skills that they had in their previous mode of employment. Should the startup fail, they can always go back to it. Sure, they might not be hired by the same employer. Sure, they might not get as high a wage as before, but they can still find more or less equitable employment to what they had before. It's not the end of the world that these people choose to take a gap and pursue their dreams. In addition to that, ladies and gentlemen, we tell you that you should expect more from your professional life than just a reliable paycheck, and many people do. It's okay that they pursue it, even if it comes with significant risks attached, because the rewards for it are also exponentially greater, and this needs to be explained in my argument about self-actualization in economics. At the same time, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about this entire idea of putting down how glamorization of startup culture puts down traditional modes of employment. We tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that first of all, no, it definitely doesn't. Because just because something is attractive about employment option A doesn't mean that everything else is necessarily very bad and sad. At the same time, we tell you that if this argument and this link can be made, then the link can be made for every other mode of employment as well. In Pakistan, we don't give as much respect to actors and singers as we do to engineers and doctors. At the same time, the American dream is of being a very wealthy CEO. Anyone less than that is automatically subpar on the basis of the same dubious link. That's going to exist in your world as well. So having dealt with their case, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our case. We're going to talk about two things for you today. First of all, we tell you that liberation is more than just a reliable paycheck. We talk to you about how emerging labor is treated to economic benefits and freedom. And secondly, we're going to talk to you about how startups give consumers greater control and benefit in the economy at large. So let's talk about the first thing first. Let's talk about the need and problem that we face inside our position today. We tell you that right now, labor, both emerging and existing, is largely dependent on the establishment of economics. Your career, regardless of where you're employed or what your skills are, what your degree is, follows the same general storyline with slight variations. You find an entry-level job where you're just a cog in a machine at some point. You slowly work your way up the corporate ladder. You always, in this entire process, at risk of displacement due to redundancies, due to machinery making you redundant, due to your company shifting your factory to China, and you labor to China because it's just cheaper there. At the same time, ladies and gentlemen, we tell you that your work is very structured and limited. You're still a cog in the machine, even at the higher levels of corporate employment, right? We tell you that your inputs, your ideas, and your talents are left in the shadow of your job description. Before we move on to other problems, yes, ma'am?
Why should there be innovation in these existing systems?
I'm going to talk to you about that, but how startup culture encourages innovation in these existing establishment companies as well. But at the same time, we don't think that innovation in these establishment companies is exclusive to your model. We don't see why it can't happen with the glamorization of startup culture as well. In fact, it will incentivize people to maybe think that, my job here is quite secure, I like it. I don't maybe want to take the risks of a startup, but I have some nice ideas. Maybe I should just tell my boss about it and take the initiative. So, moving on, ladies and gentlemen, we tell you that your ultimate lottery in this mode of employment is making it big as a CEO, or making it into a strong management position, where you'll just do to your underlings what they did, what your CEOs did to you, ladies and gentlemen, perpetuating the status quo. At all levels of this employment, and especially for most people, because most people don't make it to high-level positions or CEO positions, you stagnate in your job, you have a 9-to-5 job, it's repetitive, and you're generally not satisfied with it to the extent that you would be had you been allowed to follow your dreams. Generally speaking, these startup success stories, the people in them tend to be very, very happy. There's a reason they're showing off about them.
Yeah, those jobs that they...
We tell you, ladies and gentlemen, at the same time, what this mode of employment is defined by two things. A lack of control and freedom, and at the same time, your rewards for your labor inputs being the least possible amount of money that a corporation can pay you. This is damaging. In fact, in some societies, it's even worse. Why is that? The problem is multiplied because social structures inhibit you from pursuing career paths that you may want to. The doctor-engineer storyline, ladies and gentlemen, and that needs to be countered with a counter-narrative of glamorization, that there is merit to following your dreams, ladies and gentlemen. The two harms of this are economic benefit being denied to people and self-actualization being denied to people. How do we stop this? We think that startup culture and glamorization changes this by giving you a destination, showing you a path to the destination, and making the economy at large more receptive to you pursuing your dreams. How was that? Let's talk about it. Firstly, the path. We've already told you how places emphasis on things like innovation, perseverance, and maximizing human ingenuity, not just from your own creativity, but from all your colleagues, the people you work with, and even the people you end up employing. It also tells you to make use of every resource you have available. Your dad's garage, right? Ideas from everyone. It gives you a metric that shows you the path to success. It's not just a bit, it's something that's being dangled in front of you for you to follow like an animal. Secondly, the economy will be incentivized to assist you. Why is that? Because the thing is that the startup culture and its glamorization permeates to everyone in society, including financial institutions when they see how well startups do, including consumers and investors at large. We have things like Steam Greenlight, we have things like Kickstarter, where the community at large pitches in to help people in startups. It's not easier now than it was back then. Things aren't as bad as they painted out to be, and we welcome this glamorization because it allows people, it facilitates people following their dreams. At the same time, it assists in the breaking down of these social barriers that pigeonhole you into certain career paths, like being a doctor or engineer. And thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, the destination itself is good. We tell you this is generally understood, right? Because these people have followed their dreams, they're happy with what they do. They can also see what the fruits of their labor are doing for everyone in society at large, for the consumers. That gives you satisfaction, and that's important in what you do for your career. At the same time, you have control over your working hour and how you work and how much wealth you generate. Your reward from this employment is what consumers think your work is worth, not what the company is capable of least possibly paying. At the same time, there's spillover benefit through other establishing companies, right? Why is that? Because these companies see that, look, harvesting maximum human talent, even from employees, has economic benefits. They're profit motivated, they will want to do it as well, and everyone benefits. For all these reasons, vote out.